I started the bottom half of the form when I was stacking nuts from the tail tips of the tail down. I ended up with some gaps when I transitioned, so this time I'm going to start trying to come from the top or closer to the stomach region and go up, and that'll also help keep the nuts in place for this really sharp bend right here. And hopefully I can minimize gaps. Underneath it won't be seen as bad, so I can hide those fairly easy. But up top, this is the negative form for the exposed surface that's going to be seen of the mermaid tail. So I'm going to try coming from the stomach region down to the tips of the tails and see if I can't make it look better. Let's get rock and rolling. I just started with the points of the hexagon right towards that. I started doing it slightly different, but this will help. Coming in at an angle like this, I think it'll help minimize a lot of the gaps that we're gonna run into later as I weld this out and then flip it up and weld the stomach region. Not even sure I'm gonna weld the stomach region on this form, because on the other set of forms I got for the upper body, they were cast years ago. I think I'm gonna bring the baby down, the whole upper body down to where it meets the tail and the top of the buttocks region. We'll see. I've ran the nuts up as best I can to, I was able to finish all the fins on this side, except for this little point here. It was getting too steep, so I'm gonna have to weld it up and cock the form up more. But then this down angle coming down, the nuts were sliding down too much, so I'm just gonna weld it in, get everything spotted in, actually get the tail welded in, pull it up, finish this one, lay it down, maybe even cock the back up and finish this run right here. It'll just be a constant flipping and flopping method. What I've got here is an old battery terminal lead. Actually, is all I use to get the ground over. You see, it's an old battery terminal lead I had, so I ground that out. And then when I get ready to weld these, I'll hold it down in real good and start spot welding around. And then I kind of run a spider web down. I don't jump nuts between my welds. I have to do a continuous weld, but it's a continuous series of spot welds. And then I do a spider web formation to kind of hold the shape of the form in here and minimize warpage. I'll still get some. Nothing that a good mallet can't fix. But yeah, we're at this phase. I'm going to start welding her up. And hopefully by tomorrow afternoon, a day and a half of big welding, hopefully this thing will be ready. The lower half will be ready to join. Then I can start on the top half. Those forms are already cast. So yeah, we'll do that. We'll get these benches cleared, get the other forms up, and get those stacked out with nuts. Let's do it. Screwed it down for extra support. You're gonna have a lot of forces working against you here for warpage. Exhaust fans on. Hopefully you guys can hear over that. Starting here fresh this morning where I left off yesterday. As I was welding, I did end up getting a warp right here. I'm not sure you can see it, but it's about probably 3/16 of an inch out. I don't know if you can see this moving or not, but I'm gonna clamp it down in. I have everything stacked up around it to where I think I can get at least most of that out of it. And we'll just see. I got these big Bessie clamps, which are lifesavers. There we go. Simple as that. Everything else actually seems to stay in place pretty good. Got one right here I need to get rid of. Got welded out of place. There we go. All right, another big day of welding. Right back into it. Now that we're mostly welded up, about 99% complete with all the tack welds, I've seen a couple more small pieces I need to come in and hit. No big deal. I'm going to come back in with a 4.5 inch angle grinder, except for, and do this at your own risk, I put a 6 inch cutoff wheel on it. And I come in where I'm proud of the form. I'll come in, score a line all the way around. Looks like I need to build these up a little bit more. I mean, we're right there. Score the line, and then on the insides, I can start shaping where because these don't sit proud, but they're more proud than where it needs to be. I can come in and score lines with the grinder and make cutoff lines to pull this out when it's done and cut everything off to make it fit later. There'll be other final adjustments to make as we go. Making the two pieces meet, there's a lot of beating and clamping, and it'll break your brain. But it's fairly simple once you see it. I'll cut my cutoff lines through here. Other than that, we just need to get cutting off with it, and we'll make it happen. Right, we've got everything welded. We have most of our lines cut in where we're going to need to slice everything down to the mating surfaces. So we're ready to pull it out and get our first look at it, and hopefully this goes smooth. I'd like to build more mermaids out of this form, so I don't really want to tear it up if I don't have to. Find the right angles. There we go. First look at it. All right. It works. Now that we're here, 99% of the welding is done. I'm gonna start overbuilding the nuts up and over the edge. You see this is broke out, so I don't know exactly where. I'm assuming that the edge of the form will be right in this area from this surface to this surface. But I'm gonna go ahead and build the nuts up higher all the way around, because it's easier to cut them down later than it is to add to later. So I'm just gonna go ahead and rock that out now and keep on moving. All right, I'm gonna start working the baby mermaid bottom half out of the form here and get our first good look at it. I think it'll work. Lots of cleaning going to be required. For some reason, I'm running too hot. I'm burning through the 1/4 inch nuts. It'll be all right. Just wrapped up getting the tail out of the molds. They're roughed out, rough cut. So I'm ready to do the upper body now. The reason I only did the tail on those other molds was because I already had these two molds made from a different sculpture, which I can show you here in a minute. But so the upper body was already casted and finished, so there's no sense of wasting the plaster to do it again. I've got it right here. So I brought these back out of storage. I'm gonna clean them up just a little bit. They're a little rough, a little dirty. Hope it's not mold, probably just dirt. But yeah, I'm gonna use the upper molds here. I got the arms and the casting over there, and start stacking out nuts. Hopefully by tomorrow afternoon. I'm assuming that I'll be able to have the whole thing ready for final cleanup and assembly on everything except the arms. I'm gonna do the arms and hands later. The hands really slow me down making the fingertips. I make the fingers out of solid steel, but we'll talk about that later. All right, let's do it. This area right in through the chin and the neck will show up on the video here. It's chipped out. It's not really even. If I lay the nuts in there on the surface, it's gonna be quite uneven. So I'm gonna come in here with a different type of rasp than I was using before, just to hit the shapes that I need. And kind of course I'm working on the negative here, so it's truly hard to kind of see what it is. But clean that up just a little so everything starts to sit flush. So what I'm doing right in this area, I'm running the belly down way further than I need to, because chances are this tail is going to come out probably, I don't know, about an inch higher than I've got it. Roundabouts, maybe the top of the legs, slightly higher. But it's $2 worth of bulk nuts, not even $2, probably actually 75 cents worth of bulk nuts I'm going to waste just to run this down extra, get it welded while it's here, and then cut it and trim it to fit and make everything look good later. So yeah, I'm going to do that. And then right here where the molds broke out, I'm going to wait till I weld up, then I'm going to start stacking up and holding the nuts in place rather than wasting clay putting in there. Like I said, I'm learning as I go. I used to always put the clay in. It seems to be a waste at this point. So I'm just going to eyeball it, and then everything here is going to be breakaway welds. I'm going to tack weld all this so I can beat the edges in place and see what happens. All right, let's do it. All right, let's get our first good look at it. Nice. Little cleanup needed.